Hey guys, well here we are again in Fusion 360 this week, and we're still working on this little small job shop project for some 3D printer / laser parts. So what we have here is a rear X mount. This particular part here is 3 1/4 by 3 3/4 and 0.121 thick. This particular piece presented a few problems. A lot of times when people send you models, which this gentleman did, in their mind they may be thinking that you can get this out of 0.125 flat stock, but often when you buy that bar stock, it tends to have a bow in it, and so once you face it, the minimum thickness you can get is probably around 1.15, somewhere in that range. You're going to remove about 10 thousandths off before you can get it actually flat. Otherwise, you have spots around the edges here that, especially on something this wide, that will not be surfaced. So that's one thing that you have to take in consideration. Now, of course, I could have machined this out of 1/4" bar stock, but you're going to be wasting a lot of material doing that. So it's best if you can design it so that you can get it out of available bar stock. I know this gentleman most likely was thinking that you could just clean up some 1/8" bar stock for this. So that's what I did, but the finished parts ended up being a little bit smaller, about 5 or 6 thousandths under what he had drawn. But for this particular project, it wasn't that critical, so it worked out okay. But that's just something to keep in mind. Another thing is, these are small parts, and these radiuses here are small. These hole diameters, this slot right here is small. So I had to buy tooling for this. Luckily, he drew everything the same. I've got about 3 different parts that are all similar to this flat stock here. Because he drew them all the same with similar radiuses, I was able to use the same end mill for all the projects. So the additional tooling costs were minimal. But I had to purchase a 3mm end mill for this. So those are additional costs that you have to factor in. For this particular piece, we're going to be using the masking tape super glue method, and we're going to be gluing this down to a sacrificial 3/8 inch piece of stock. So you have to factor in the cost of the fixtures as well. I had to machine 4 of these. So I used one 12-inch bar of 3/8 inch stock here, so you have to factor that cost in as well. Let's take a look at the cam operations for this. It's really pretty straightforward. Originally, I thought that I would face off the bottom of this, then tape it and glue it to the fixture, and then machine this top side. And I did that for the first piece, but the problem is, when you're facing off this thin material like this, the material, because it was so thin, it wanted to kind of chatter. So that didn't really work out real well. So what I did was, I just went ahead and taped it off, super glued it to the fixture, machined the top side. Once the top side was finished, I taped off the finished part here and glued it down to another fixture, and then just surfaced that backside. That gave it some stability, and the chatter eliminated that chatter issue. So let's take a look at the operations here. So we have our facing operation. We're just trying to clean off the surface here. We're not trying to remove very much material, just enough to clean it up. Next we have an adaptive operation. I'm using a 1/4 inch 3-flute Aluma Power end mill. I'm not taking very much width of cut here. We're going at 22.5 inches per minute at 5,000 RPMs, and I'm taking 30 thousandths on the width of cut here, and I'm leaving 5 thousandths to clean up later. I want it to be on the conservative side for my width of cut, because I don't want this to lift after I start machining this off. Next, we're going to come back with that 3mm end mill, and we're going to bore all these holes. We're just using a boring operation for that. We're going to come back and do this pocket with the same 3mm end mill, and then also these small slots. We're just going back and forth and cutting this with a zigzag ramping to come back and do these slots. Then we're going to finish off the contour here because these radius here are small. We're going to come back and do that with the 3 flute end mill. And this particular part has threads here. So we're coming back with an M5 by 0.8 to thread these holes. Then we're going to just flip it over and machine off this bottom after we reattach it to the fixture with some masking tape and super glue. The total machine time for this is about 22 minutes, 21.5 minutes. We are removing a lot of material with this adaptive operation here, so that takes up quite a bit of time. All told, with the time it takes to glue up these fixtures, you probably got about a 30-minute machine time in each one of these little pieces. And again, depending on what your shop time, what you charge for your shop time, you can see that these little pieces can get quite expensive. But now that we've seen the cam operations in Fusion 360, let's go out to the Precision Matthews and we'll machine this part. This is an X mount, a rear X mount. Hey guys, well, I'm out in the shop today and I'm going to be doing a little job shop work. What I've got is some 1/8 inch flat stock, and I'm using this masking tape super glue trick to adhere it to a base so that I can machine this out. Alright, so let's get started. halfway milling here. Alright, we've got a small 3mm end mill here. next operation here is some thread milling. Alright, looks pretty good. Turned out really nice. So let's get it out of here. We'll pop it off this masking tape here and take a look. So it comes off pretty good. All you have to do is just take a spatula and kind of work it under it. Kind of like pulling up a 3D print, really. Tape comes right off, and get your finished part. So this has been a fun little project because I haven't really machined anything quite so thin, but it works out really well. The threads look really nice in the... I was a little concerned about that with it being such a thin part, but looks really good. Turned out really nice. Well, okay guys, well that'll wrap up this video. Guys, if you're new to my channel and you're just tuning in, you can click on that subscribe button down here in the bottom right hand corner. Also click on that notification bell. That way when I post a new video, they'll send you a link. If it's something you're interested in, you can stop by and check it out. As always guys, please feel free to ask questions, make suggestions, or leave comments. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe, and most importantly, be safe.